That's wild. It gets worse and worse. How the guys doing? Sorry if you don't understand what I'm talking about. That little intro, 30-second countdown, I saw one frame of that and it just froze. That's normally an indication that I'm going to have a bad stream, but let me not say that because at the moment the connection seems to be okay. Let me know if the visual's okay for you guys, if the audio is okay, and thank you for DV. I appreciate you joining me for these impromptu streams. I'm trying to do them a bit more regularly. I prefer to do short and impromptu streams. When I say short, you know it's me, so you got to take that word with a pinch of salt because I don't know how to do short. But I'd prefer to do short, regular, impromptu streams than irregular posts like irregularly. So it's because I'm trying to get a little bit of momentum going back on this channel again. I've decided to cover topics. I'm just going to cover them one topic at a time, one stream at a time. And if it's a short stream, then it's a short stream. What the heck, it is what it is. But I'm glad to have you join me. So shout out to the 4 people that are in the room. Shout out Joy, 4DV. Retain Ascension was probably lingering around about half an hour ago when I first posted the stream, and they might have left. But if you're there, hello, big shout out to you. Thank you for interacting. So let's get this underway because I do want to kind of do this stream, get out of the way, and move on. Elon Musk. Yes, I'm sure many of you have seen his interview. It's very worrying. I would say worrying. It's not worrying. It's more indicative. I was going to say it's very worrying, but it's actually just more indicative of the world that we live in, that a man who lacks integrity to the degree of Elon Musk, a man of no substance, essentially a con artist, is touted as the richest man in the world. Now, I say touted because he exists within this framework, this Fugazi framework, in which these technocrats essentially manipulate the world's financial systems through the false valuations of their companies to amass immense wealth. And that really has been, it's a playbook actually that he didn't actually create, although he's utilized it massively. It's actually a playbook that I trace back to Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook, the Facebook valuation. I remember when Facebook was one of the big first major tech companies to do an IPO in that way. And when Mark Zuckerberg did that, he did it when Facebook was valueless. I'm not sure if you remember, Facebook was all the rage. But by the time Mark Zuckerberg took it to IPO, no one used Facebook anymore. Only we Facebook users knew that, because people who used to use Facebook had all moved off the platform. It had become just unbearable. The content on the platform was just crap. It was all ads. It was just rubbish. It was just really horrid, and it was just overrun by bots. This is even before the age of AI, and it was just an unusable platform. So although it had all of these users, I can't remember how many users, it was like 1 billion users or something on Facebook, some ridiculous amount, like a really high amount. No one was actually using Facebook. And the only way they could actually get you to keep your Facebook account, because most people wanted to delete them, was that you needed a Facebook account to access platforms you actually wanted to use. So platforms like Instagram and everything. Well, actually, that's before they acquired Instagram. We'll kind of come on to that. No, had they acquired? Yeah, I think that's before they acquired Instagram. But basically, that's how they had cornered the market, in that they had linked the Facebook account. The whole idea of using your Facebook login to access different tech platforms benefited them hugely, because otherwise I think most people would have just erased their Facebook account. So anyway, because most like investors and these large, hedge funds and all these people who kind of like do these investments, these IPOs, they're not really that tech savvy, and that they don't really engage in that world. They're all about money. He was able to pull the wool over their eyes, do a massive valuation. If I remember correctly, back then when that IPO was on, Facebook was valued at 100 billion, if I think I remember correctly. And it just wasn't even generating, profits. It was barely generating profits. Um, and because he managed to get that massive valuation, the first thing he did is he went out and he used that money that was amassed from the IPOs to buy actual social networks that people were using, such as Instagram and WhatsApp. And he bought platforms that people actually used. And so basically, they created wealth out of nothing and then used that real money to then purchase actual companies that were worth something. So Mark Zuckerberg done it first. And he took basically a dying dinosaur that was just literally going the way of what was that first one called again? Um Gosh, I got a brain block. What was that first social network that everyone used to use? Tom used to add you. Someone remind me. Oh, why has it gone? Why have it slipped my mind? The name of it. MySpace. It was a dying dinosaur that was going the way of MySpace. It was literally just about to just like peter out into nothing. And a few smart maneuvers and an IPO. Yeah, thanks, Pentazoid. A few smart maneuvers and an IPO later, and bish bash bosh, Facebook is the number one, IT stock, tech stock in the world. It's acquiring all these companies, and it didn't deserve to do that. It was supposed to just die out. And Elon Musk, for all intents and purposes, is a adept manipulator of public perception, and he's also he understands the world's financial systems really well. And so he's essentially done that again with SpaceX. So the whole SpaceX thing has been basically Elon Musk selling one of the most valueless organizations you could possibly come up with. It launches rockets that I'm not even going to start arguing, but if you think any of Elon Musk rockets have gone to space, that's up to you. But I haven't seen anything to convince me that he's launched any rockets that have gone past, the Earth's upper atmosphere. Launches these rockets up, they land in the ocean, and somehow he's managed to value his organization at 2.7 trillion, which is just beyond stupidity. Now you're all seeing the stock crash because it's hard to maintain. At least with Tesla, he had the false image of Tesla sales. Even though Tesla's massively overvalued, everybody was buying into the fact that it was a good vehicle, it was a good car. There's no two ways about that. And people could see the future of Tesla being this kind of like this hybrid of both tech and the motor industry, and it was quite exciting. So as a stock, it's massively overvalued, but it was an exciting overvalue, and people could kind of see the potential for Tesla to do well in the future. So in that way, I kind of, to some degree, I don't think the Tesla stock price is justified, but I think it was semi-justified. But then, it comes to the SpaceX stock, which is just crap stock. No product, no turnover, nothing to speak of, just this huge amount of debt. And he's selling AI and rockets in space, and hey, we're going to colonize Mars and the moon. And I mean, you have to be an idiot. And yet he managed to, well, it did quite well. It's going to crash all the way, by the way. At the moment, I think its height was $200. I think, I don't know, it's lingering around $110 at the moment. I'm predicting that the stock will crash and will settle around somewhere between $50 and $30. So this is going to be a massive, like maybe one of the biggest stock failures in history. And that's rightly so. But either which way, even at $30, this man's wealth is just insane. And it's just a picture of the insane world we live in, because if you look at him as a moral, on a purely kind of like on a morality scale, he's one of the most immoral human beings, one of the most reprehensible, most vile people we've had in history. He's an open neo-Nazi, you know what? I won't complete the word. He's misogynistic. he's deluded, he lies consistently, so he doesn't even have, you know, honesty on his side. He just has no more, like he's worse than Donald Trump. And it's like he's the Teflon guy. Nothing he ever does ever sticks. Like there's nothing he can do to get cancelled. He's like gone beyond, and that's partly because obviously he purchased X and kind of controls a large portion of social media. And he knows he can say anything, because what he'll do, and he's done it on the thread of the video I'm about to show you, is he'll just activate his army of bots. I don't believe these are real people. He'll activate his army of bots to basically rewrite the narrative on anything he interacts with. So he knows he can't lose the battle of perception. Yeah, he can't lose in the what's it called, the public, you know, the public jury. I can't remember what there's expression I'm trying to go for, you know, but he can't lose that, because essentially he controls narrative streams using his, you know, using a combination of obviously his Grok AI and all the bots he has. You know, I've got 250 million followers. It's like, how many of those are real? Who's really, don't get me wrong, I know Elon Musk has got followers. His popularity is not 250 million followers. Absolutely not. So he's obviously utilizing the fact he owns X to place himself at the top of recommendations everywhere. But then on top of doing that, probably a whole bunch of those are just bot followers. And how many real users has his platform even got? There's so much to it. But he's a reprehensible human being. And I wanted to cover this interview he has with The Economist, because I actually think this female journalist does a really good job at dressing him down. You wouldn't guess that from the comments, but anyone with any kind of like even just an iota of common sense will know that if you was to look at this discussion objectively, she's the only one who's saying anything sensible, and he is just descending into this, like he's getting worse and worse every day, and I mean like exponentially worse every day. I think I dislike him, quite possibly dislike him more than any other person on the planet at the moment. It's quite possible. I have a deep-seated hatred for this man, and because he's so dangerous, it's just very, very worrying how much influence and power he has now. But anyway, without any further ado, let's get into this video and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. Well, yeah, so the video is on the Economist channel. It's called Elon Musk on Europe, the far right and civil war in Britain, The Economist. And bear in mind, I am not a fan of mainstream media. So the fact that I'm siding with mainstream media in this discussion goes some way to telling you how reprehensible of a human being Elon Musk must be. Let's get into this.
You support not just the populist right, but the far right, in fact, very fringe parties in some countries.
No, I support the normal people.
Okay.
What do you call the far right? Falsely.
First of all, give me a one that you could hear the audio okay when that was playing, so I know that was going through okay. Well, first of all, he's called the far right normal people. I mean, he comes to England and he chooses to back, you know, Tommy Robinson in Britain first. Like, he goes to Germany, he picks literally the worst of the neo, you know who's, and then he says they're the normal people. No one calls them normal people. No one.
You think is the normal person? Okay.
Yes. Literally, you could go back 10 or 15 years, and these policies were completely normal. In fact,
What is he talking about? Already, I'm so confused. What policies are completely normal? 10 or 15 years? Does he think that the world was completely different 10 or 15 years ago? 10 or 15 years ago compared to now, this world is by some degree has moved far more to the right in the last 10 or 15 years than it was 10 or 15 years ago. It's much more extremist, much more right wing, because of obviously evil individuals like him. So what is he? Once again, it's that double speak. We were talking about this yesterday, for those of you on the live stream, where they say the precise opposite of what the truth is. Like, they don't even like lie a little bit. They see the truth. This is the truth here, and they'll say the exact opposite. And that exact opposite is what they'll present you with, and they'll do it with a straight face and say, oh no, Oh no, what are you talking about? Donald Trump hasn't killed anyone. Iranians have invaded America, and actually, Iranians have killed more Americans than Americans have killed Iranians. I'll just say it with a straight face.
One of the tricks that I think is funny. One of the things that's quite funny is to like take a speech from Obama and Hillary, and then go to someone and say, who's sort of you know, on the sort of what I call the lunatic left, and say, what do you think of the speech by Trump? I'm like, oh wow, he's the worst person ever. Actually, that was a speech by Obama, or actually, that was a speech by Hillary.
And see, this is someone who has pre-programmed talking points, okay? Because no one was talking about speeches at this point. Yeah, it was a very, very, very straightforward question. Yeah, and he says, I actually represent the normal people, and she says, no, you represent the far right. Okay, let's finish that point, Elon. No, because I'm Elon Musk, and I've got to finish the point that I started. Like, what are you talking about? Why are we now talking about speeches? Oh, actually, I took a speech, and it was by Hillary, and I gave it to someone. They said, oh, but Trump is the worst. Oh, it wasn't Trump. It was actually Obama and Hillary. What are you talking about, mate? Are you unable to maintain or sustain a very simple conversation here? Let's finish the points we've started, Elon Musk. Okay, and what you'll find is I almost feel embarrassed that I used to think this guy was intelligent. He actually might possibly have, and I don't say this in a horrible way, but I think he might be special needs. I actually think he's incredibly unintelligent, like on the borderline of this guy needs help. And I think it's interesting that he's always banging on about stuff like IQ and stuff like that, because he doesn't seem like he's intelligent at all. He really seems like he struggles to answer really basic questions, and you'll see that as this interview goes on.
I agree. No, I agree that the center of gravity in this country has shifted. Certainly, the Democratic Party has shifted to the left. But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about people like Rupert Lowe. I'm talking about people.
It's actually just normal people. It's just normal people. It's just normal people. And and here are the principles.
And just note here, I'm going to let him finish his point, but note here, he's got this arrogance where he proposes things to be the truth without any support, but just because he said it. And this is the sign of someone who is not only incredibly narcissistic, but also, and we have to understand this, incredibly powerful. Okay, he's surrounded by a circle of sycophants. This is a man who is never corrected. So he can turn around and say, actually, they're normal people. No, they're clearly not the normal people. They sit at the extreme right. How do we know we sit at the extreme right? Because there's nobody right of them, Elon Musk. Okay, there's nobody to the right of the people that you're supporting. So you can't say, oh well, they sit in the center. They're actually not. There's no one to the right of them. You espouse and support literally the most extreme actions, the most extreme views, the most extreme behaviors. That is what you support. There's no group sitting to the right of the people that you support. There's no groups that would use violence quicker. There's no groups that are more racist. There's no groups that are more ignorant. Okay, you're literally on the fringe of the right. You can keep saying they're normal, but if you're going to propose that people are normal, you have to show people that exist on both sides of whatever spectrum it is that you're presenting, to prove that actually these people are the ones who have a neutral position. Okay, because neutrality will equate that with normalcy, and even because there's no way you can say people are normal, even if the people are that you've got quite a lot of them. They're not the mean average. Okay, you're not picking a group that represents the masses. Okay, so this is the issue, and he exists within his own echo chamber. Obviously, he's created. How many people get an opportunity or the chance to create their own echo chamber? I mean, I have a relatively sizable community on a couple of my platforms, and it's nice to have those conversations. But this guy's got an entire social network that he's tweaking the algorithm to reflect his twisted perspectives, which is incredibly dangerous.
And tell me, which of these sound terrible? That we should have secure borders, that we should have safe cities, that we should have sensible spending. Which of those three are far right
those
fringe?
This guy just jumps from straw man to straw man. So he just proposed 3 incredibly normal policies that you would find on any political party, from the far left to the central left to the far right, would just have on their list of, you know, to-dos, changes, proposals. Any political party would say, oh, we need to, you know, monitor our borders more. Yeah, we need to control spending. What are you talking about? No one's got a problem with the 3 things you said. Yeah, the things that people have a problem with is when we're gonna cut DEI, we're gonna deport all of these people, we're going to make sure black people can't get jobs, we're going to incite racial violence and incite civil war and tell people there's no other option but to fight a civil war against immigrants. We're going to support wars. These are the things, yeah, where there's contention, not the 3 incredibly normal things you just mentioned and then sat down really smugly like you just had some kind of a gotcha moment. Oh, well, tell me, what's that? What's weird about that? What's weird about cutting spending? Nothing's weird about it, you freaking weirdo. Yeah.
And I would like to just admonish you and the media for the absurd characterization of the far right. It is false and misleading and nonsense. Please keep this part in.
We'll keep all of this.
He's like an 11-year-old that's so proud of what he just said. Let's just maximize this image so you guys can see. Just okay. Oh, please keep this part in. Please. He's sitting there so smug, like he said something so clever. Oh, she's got no comeback for that. I've just taken her down. I've just mate, what you your false characterization of the far right. Mate, it doesn't take the media to characterize the far right. You characterize them perfectly when you go up on stage after the president's or during the president's inauguration and you give 2, you know, salutes to AH, yeah? The most forbidden, I would say, gesture probably in the modern era that you could give. It's completely forbidden, and for right reasons. It's a sign of fascism. It's a sign that you believe in the, you know, in dysgenics. It's a sign that you believe in genocide. It's a sign that you believe that some people are less than human. It's a sign that you believe in the purity of certain races. It's literally the worst thing that you can do, you know, in a position of political power. Okay, it shows what you stand for. It's literally the most deplorable human beings, it used to be before you started doing it, who would even do this in public, let alone people of influence, people of position, CEOs, people of political power. They would be far more careful. That's the far right. It doesn't take anybody to characterize that. I think the world has agreed, and there's very few things I agree with the mainstream media on, but the world has agreed that certain things are just, you know, uniformly wrong. We agree in that, you know, fascism, NIZIs, we all agree, everybody agrees, yeah, that's wrong. Let's not have a repeat of those people. You're sitting there like, well, actually, I think they're rather fab, and I make sure you keep this in. Don't take it out. What an idiot. I told you he's descending.
But let me
don't cut this part.
Let me push back on that. Let me push back on that because you have
nonsense.
Elon.
He really thinks he's Tony Stark out here. That's the thing. He really thinks he said something so clever. I don't think he's ever been in a real debate before, because no one could be this confident that what they're saying is clever.
You have, what is it, close to 250 million followers on X.
Yeah,
you say things like,
popular guy.
Quote, civil war.
And even that statement, popular guy. This is a guy who, I'm sure you guys know the stories about how he faked a gaming account. You know, he got other people to play for him to get himself at the top of a game. And when he actually demoed it, he couldn't play this game. Like, this is a guy who his whole life is, you know, it's his whole life and his whole value is not based on how much money he's got. It's based on how popular he is. He really lives for the approval of others. Literally, his whole life is a performance to get approval from other people, to be perceived as normal. You know, like Mark Zuckerberg, like, please see me as a normal human. I'm just like, sorry, you can't buy your way into people admiring you. The only thing that you had any admiration for was the fact that people thought you were clever, and now you've opened your mouth too much, and now no one even believes that anymore. So the only thing you can do is push people around with your, you know, with your wealth and the power that you've amassed. But as a human being, no one respects you for any reason, and particularly after your latest financial, you know, manipulations, people now know that you're a fraud as well. So you're an idiot and you're a fraud. You have all the power and all the money in the world, and that money, I'm sure, will, you know, will manifest itself in the amount of power that you're able to exert, but you won't have people's respect. That's something that he will never have again, as much as he likes to manipulate social media to make it seem like people have got his back.
In Britain is inevitable. Just a question of when.
Yeah. I'm just going to go back a bit. Yeah.
Close to 250 million followers on X.
Yeah,
you say things like,
popular guy.
Quote, civil war in Britain is inevitable. Just a question of when.
On the current trend, yes.
I mean, when were you last in the UK?
So he said civil war in Britain was inevitable. And this is, you have to understand, he had quite a lot of impact in the recent kind of like, I'm not going to call them riots because they weren't riots. It was like recent, and I'm not talking about Belfast. There was a incident, and I'm going to call it an incident because I believe it was a false flag, but we'll leave that aside, in the UK, where there were these 3 teenage girls who were unalived in a youth club, like those things still exist, but whatever, by a random Rwandan boy, just when they decided they were going to start deporting black people back to Rwanda. Yeah, you can't write this stuff, but yeah, let's pretend all of this happened. Yeah, this, and he looked different in every e-fit they did of him. His face looked different, just like the typical kind of like red flags. He went from light skin to dark skin to light skin again. It was so weird, but anyway, I'm not going to go into all of that. Let's say that happened. Okay. Now, what happened afterwards is there were like protests and this, that, and the other. And obviously, you know, white men are going to make a big deal out of it. They make a big deal out of anything that an ethnic minority does. And essentially, there were these protests. Tommy Robinson was there, and he came on and he was like, basically, he was really inciting British people to fight. He wanted to create a racial war right there and then. He was telling them, fight, fight, fight. There's nothing, you know, fight or die. These people are coming. And he was speaking in very inflammatory terms. Now, if any Muslim cleric ever spoke the way that he spoke, he did this over, you know, it was televised, it was shown. If there was ever a Muslim cleric who spoke like that, he would have been instantly, not only would have been barred from ever entering the UK, he would have also instantly, there would have been a warrant put out for his arrest for trying to incite violence. It was one of the most open attempts at creating, like he said, a civil war. Civil war is inevitable. What he's trying to incite one. This is someone who is flaunting international law, not just in the UK, by the way. He's doing the same thing in Germany. He's doing the same thing in Canada. He's doing it across the world. And obviously, we know he's doing it in America. He's going around the world trying to incite race wars. No one has put a warrant out for his arrest. No one has, you know, people have gone to prison for far less than this. He should be a criminal in the UK because of his attempts to basically create unrest amongst the UK population. And he just kind of gets away with it. This is the thing.
A few years ago.
Exactly. So I live there. I'm there the whole time. That is nonsense.
You live in a cloistered existence.
No, I don't actually. And the numbers also disprove what you say.
What numbers?
All the numbers about
Imagine a trillionaire, the world's only trillionaire, telling a journalist that she lives a closeted existence. Do you remember what I talked about this doublespeak? This ability to tell people and to project literal opposite of the truth. I live in the real world. You live in a closeted existence. I live in the real world. I will take you around the real UK. Mate, you haven't seen the real world for at least 20 years. This woman's a journalist, okay? She doesn't live a closeted existence. I'd imagine at the very best she might have like an apartment in Kensington or something, but she interacts with real Londoners on a daily basis. What are we talking about here? I'm going to bring that back a bit.
So I live there. I'm there the whole time. That is nonsense.
You live in a cloistered existence.
No, I don't actually. And the numbers also disprove what you say.
What numbers?
All the numbers about crime. London is a much safer city than any city in the United States. Violent crime in the UK is not where you think it is. In fact, it's coming down. You have painted, and because you have so many followers, so many Americans believe it, a kind of view that Europe and the UK are kind of, overrun with terrifying Muslim immigrants. There's rape on every corner. There's a sort of civilizational destruction.
I haven't said any of those things.
Well, he said all of those things, or he's retweeted them. But actually, most of those things have come out of his mouth. So he's a liar, first of all. But secondly, even the stuff that hasn't come out of his mouth, he's retweeted ad nauseum. He's talked ad nauseum about the whole idea of there being these Muslim RAPE gangs in the UK, which is just, I'm not gonna sit here and say it's false, but I'm saying it's such a projection of white male behavior. It's disgusting how they have tried to place the crime of PDF files upon a demographic where it occurs but doesn't occur at particularly high rates. PDF files in the UK and gangs, you have to understand, this is something that's so endemic. It's bled into celebrities. Yeah. It's almost a given that many top white male celebrities, it's like a 50-50 that we're going to find out that they committed this act. Like loads of them. I could just, Philip Schofield, you have the guy who plays Ken Barlow in Coronation Street. You had the guy who played Kevin in Coronation Street. You had Tony Hart, who I think was a Australian, but yeah, whatever. You had friggin' Gary Glitter. You had the big one, obviously, the one who worked for the BBC, Jimmy Savile. I mean, I could go on and on. You just have so many. Like so many, it's so endemic, and these people operate. And by the way, and you are throw in there as well, maybe 40% of politicians as well who conduct these acts. It's just endemic. It's rife. It's the most UK thing. It's one of the most British things about being British. Talk to anybody who's my age, yeah, and ask them, were any of your teachers ever convicted of, kiddie fiddling? Yeah. And they'll all tell you at least one, maybe two. Yeah. 2, maybe 3 of their teachers who they had in primary school or high school who aren't teaching anymore because they're convicted kiddie fiddlers. Like, it doesn't matter where you go. Just go to anywhere in the UK. Yeah. Find someone yeah, who's kind of like over 30, yeah, and ask them, any of your kid teachers get convicted? No, yeah, Mr. Figures home, Mrs. Such and Such, Mrs. Such and Such. And the disgusting thing is, they're trying to place this crime now onto, and I'm not gonna have it. I'm not a Muslim, yeah, and I'm not a huge fan of the Muslim community. They don't do any favors for us as a Black community. We don't have much in common. And to be honest with you, in the Middle East, most people are racist. But you know what I'm not going to do? I'm not going to sit here and tell you that the problem of PDF files in the UK belongs to the Pakistani community. No, we're not going to do that. You're not going to put your white crimes upon that community who have their own problems. And yes, it does occur, but don't even act like it occurs anywhere near the rate it occurs in the white community. But the thing is, they've all partnered together. The mainstream media, Elon Musk, all of these idiots, they've all partnered together and they've said, oh, we love this convenient scapegoat. It means we don't have to address our crimes as white men. We can place them on another group. I'm not having it. It's not the look. Anyone from the UK will tell you this is BS. BS they're putting on you, and you've got this politician who went out and said, "Oh, I did some estimations. I did my independent research, and I found 250,000 unanswered cases of Islamic Pakistani." Like, shut up, mate. Shut up. Because if you put if there's 250,000 cases of it happening, of Pakistanis doing it to white girls, then I guarantee you there is at least 50 times that amount. 50 times that amount of white men doing it and it not being reported. That is just a fact. That is a fact. There's no two ways about it. And it's just disgusting. And just addressing the other point she raised about people being worried about coming to London, knife crime, goes up and goes down in London, as it does across the UK, by the way. London's not like exponentially worse, but London can be a dangerous place if you're, and I don't mean this in a rude way, if you're an idiot, yeah, and you make yourself a target. Like, there's been occasions where naive people have come from different parts of the UK and they've come to London, they've had their phones snatched, but it's kind of like, well, you carried yourself like an idiot. And I don't mean that in a horrible way, but that's not happened to me in the many years that I've lived there. Yeah, it's just not happened. I don't have a problem here. And there are many people like her who will tell you, like, if you about your P's and your Q's, it's an incredibly safe place. It's a great place to be. And yes, you have to be a little bit aware when you're in certain areas or in certain environments. Yes, you do, but that's kind of normal for any major metropolis, any major city. If you carry yourself like a target, then don't be surprised when you get targeted. But there's nothing extreme about London's, the unaliving rate here or anything like the crime. Like, it's not a big deal, honestly.
You have a large and rapidly growing group of people whose beliefs are antithetical to Western beliefs. At some point, there will be a reckoning.
We're going to bring back the question so you can see his full answer to what the question was.
Every corner, there's a sort of civilizational destruction.
I haven't said any of those things. If you have a large and rapidly growing group of people whose beliefs are antithetical to Western beliefs, at some point, there will be a reckoning.
Okay, so this is someone who's obviously doesn't know anything about London. Okay, so first of all, there's not a rapidly growing population, and the fact that we've seen an uptick, because we have seen an uptick in Islamic migration to London, but that's just in the last 20 years, when guess what England has been doing around the rest of the world. 3, 2, 1. Yeah, you've been bobbing. Yeah. So the fact that you've got migrants coming from those places. Yeah. I remember when I was in high school, I had Iraqi kids in the school because we were bombing Iraq. Okay. When I was teaching, I had Afghan kids in certain classes because we were bombing Afghanistan. And, now we probably got a whole bunch of Libyans and Syrians and people because you're bombing those nations. Okay, so offering refuge to the people whose nations you're bombing for no good reason is actually just, that's the bare minimum. It's the least you could do. Yeah. So there has been a slight uptick in terms of the numbers of Muslim refugees in comparison to refugees as a whole. So in terms of, as a proportion, it's gone up slightly, but respectfully, what makes their views so antithetical? I've always said this, and I'll stand by the fact that the demographic or the group has the closest moral values to Christians, and this is true Christians, Bible following Christians, are Muslims. The only thing they bloody have any difference about is who they think the Messiah is. Okay, one thinks he's a prophet, one thinks he's a Messiah. But if you actually look at the lifestyles of these people, they're very, very similar. Okay, they both believe in sex after marriage. They both believe in obviously abstination. They both believe both don't really like drinking. They don't promote drinking. They don't promote debauchery. Real Christians and real Muslims actually look incredibly similar. They have the same outlook on sin. Okay. Now he's talking about, oh, antithetical to your beliefs. So no, what's antithetical to Christian values is atheist. Yeah, atheism. Okay. What's antithetical to Christian values is liberalism. Okay. Now, obviously, I'm not Christian, so that stuff doesn't bother me. But the fact of the matter is, this has got nothing to do with whether or not people's values are antithetical. Because, like I already demonstrated, and most of you will know if you actually review it for yourself, Christians and Muslims are incredibly similar. This is to do with race. This is to do with ideologies that you don't like. It's got nothing to do with values. So let's not make it about that.
They will try to implement their views, and those who oppose it will oppose it, and that's what you call civil war. And obviously, this is the trend.
No, that's never been the definition of civil war, by the way. You know, migrant groups coming into nations and forming their own communities. Yeah, I don't think there's a single reference in history where that's resulted in civil war. Not a single. I mean, that's what we need to do. We make a point, and then what we do is we'll back that point up with some kind of a reference or citation. This plus this equals this, and we know this because when this happened, and then this occurred, then this was the outcome. Okay, so you're claiming that this formula you just created, migrants coming in, you know, doing their own thing, results in civil war. Please give me the example of that. Cite your example where migration has resulted in a civil war.
And you absolutely do live in a cloistered existence. And if you'd like, we can go on a tour of Britain.
Sure. I'd be very happy to come on a tour of Britain.
And you will see for yourself.
You come see my country.
So the deluded trillionaire is offering the journalist who lives in the UK a tour of her own nation, where I'm proposing he's going to take her to all the shitholes, yeah, and be like, see, I told you this exists. Like, what? I could offer you a tour of Britain. Where are you going to take her, Elon? I'm interested to know, as a Londoner. Would you offer me a tour of Britain as well and tell me exactly what's going on in my nation? Like, what? This is the one deluded guy, I'm telling you.
That I live in all the time, and you haven't been to a few years ago.
I've been there literally 100 times.
But when was the last time?
Literally a few years ago.
You know what?
I flew in on my private jet, and we also stopped off on the way to. I stopped off on the way to France, on the way to Monaco, and then I flew back from there. We stopped off again. We went back to Montenegro. Like, what are you talking about, man? You've never lived there. Yeah, you don't understand anything about England. You make all these presumptions. And the problem with Elon Musk and the idiots that follow him is they speak so authoritatively. I just got to give you a very quick story. I went to St. Vincent last year, and I was training in the gym with my brother-in-law, and there was a white American guy in there. So it was just the three of us who were in this like hotel gym. And he was like, the white American guy was like, oh man, it's really bad in London right now, isn't it, man? Like, oh my God, like it's going crazy. And I could just tell by the way he was excited when he was saying this to me, that this guy was MAGA, or he was far right, or he was an idiot who spends a lot of time on. But I could sense the racism. So you guys know me. I just let him speak for it. Like, oh man, it's like really bad. Like, oh my God, like it looks like you guys got like you're heading for like a civil war over there, doesn't it? I was like, no, it doesn't actually. What are you talking about? He's like, oh man, what are you talking about, man? I could show you. I was like, mate, look, slow your roll, yeah, idiot, yeah, respectfully. I live here. Yeah, what are you talking about? Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, you sound like, and I said to him, you sound like one of these idiots who spends loads of time on forums and stuff. There's no civil war happening. There's never going to be a civil war in London. And he was like, no, but if you check this, mate, shut up. You just don't know what you're talking about. My brother-in-law was like, chill, bro. I said, no, because idiots like this, you don't know what you're talking about. England's not America, first of all. And secondly, like, you don't get to speak about something you know nothing about. Like, just know your position, know your place. And you know me, I'm just kind of like teetering on the edge of wanting to give him a slap just to show him how different London and America are. Like, I'll just slap the shit out of you if you irritate me too much, because that's what we do in London. You know what I mean? Like, you say the wrong thing and you get a backhand.
This exercises me, because you have really shaped opinion about the UK, and so many Americans I come across and I have conversations with, and and I just had one the other day along the order of, oh, London's such a dangerous place. How can you know? There are sort of grooming gangs everywhere. There's violence everywhere. This is a picture that people get from things that you post or that are posted on X. And for example, you're posting for, what was it, 48 Hours of Citizen Vigilante, that film, which,
yes,
you know, paints a dystopian. I've watched it.
Yes.
It was not fun. I watched it yesterday. It's not a very good movie.
I like where she dropped that. just telling them. And this is, anyway, let me let her finish her point.
But it also paints a dystopian picture of Europe, and it glorifies vigilante violence. It glorifies the murdering of a Muslim immigrant family. I honestly think that it is irresponsible for you to put that up on X.
I think that,
and that's disgusting. And this is the thing. This is disgusting. And the thing is, it's like he retweets it and he uses the fact that he hasn't tweeted something. He's just shared it to millions and millions of people as impunity. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, I didn't write it. I just retweeted it. It's like you shared it to the world. You took something that was fringe. You took something that some lonely idiot had said, but then you've retweeted it, and now it's reached the attention of millions of people who otherwise wouldn't have seen it. The entire resurfacing of the IQ argument was Elon Musk's doing. The entire research, like, don't get me wrong, people were talking about it, but they were people who were largely irrelevant. Okay, people who always talk about stuff, always complain, moan, or lie about things. But the fact that it got massive amounts of attention was because Elon Musk brought it to the forefront by just retweeting a couple of people. So this is someone who knows the power that he wields in just sharing something, commenting on something, retweeting or reposting something. He knows the power that yields, and yet he'll do it in the most heinous ways. Like him doing that. And this is the thing. This is where it becomes a crime, because in my view, Elon Musk sharing a film like that, which encourages essentially white people to commit mass shootings on ethnic minorities, on Muslims, and I know he'd love a film like that made about black people. People actually go out and do it. So this is where it's like, you have to understand, Elon Musk already has blood in his hands. Can I just say that to everybody here? He already has blood in his hands. There have been a countless amount of mass shootings in the US, you know, in the past year and a half. There have been riots in Belfast where people lost their lives and houses were burnt down. And this man's influence on that environment existing is tangible. He is responsible. He already has blood in his hands. I have to make that very clear. Elon Musk is responsible for death around this world already. And this is one of the reasons why, me personally, you'll never see me like mourn or even be respectful about the fact that Charlie Kirk, got pew-pewed. Yeah, I was glad and I remain glad about that. I don't feel one iota of sympathy for his family, anything like that. I don't care, because he's a man whose words made life more dangerous for me and my family, made life more dangerous for people I care about in America, made life for people who I love globally, our global Black community. He was making our lives more dangerous. He was providing justification for people to do heinous things to our community. So if the good Lord decides to remove him from circulation, do you think I'm going to dishonor my ancestors by mourning his passing? No, I celebrate and I say, thank you, man. Thank you for taking him. Thank you for taking him. Take some more of them, please. Yeah, so that we can have a great laugh. You know, that's how I feel about it. You guys can try and be like all politically correct about it. Like you got to be real. Like as someone who has children, Salute. Salute to the shoot.
It's a movie, and it's worth watching.
People say that you're a racist. What is the motivation for doing that? Are you fomenting?
My partner is she's half Indian, and and I have 4 children with her. One of them was named after a famous Indian physicist. So I would say I'm not racist.
No, racism doesn't work that way, I'm afraid, my friend. Yeah, everybody knows some of the most racist people have bought their wives from Thailand. Yeah, because they have an inability. They lack a certain amount of swagger and confidence in order to basically find women the more legitimate traditional way. Yeah, let's just say they lack chivalry. Yeah, and as a result, normal women, good-looking women, don't want them, and so they take their Western dollar and they go to a place where they know that Western dollar goes really far. For many of them, it's Thailand. They try out many of the brothels and the lady boys, and in the end, they settle for a young Thai bride. Okay, it doesn't make them all of a sudden race warriors. Yeah, it doesn't make them, doesn't mean that they are any less racist than they were. Yeah, your choice of a half Asian partner doesn't suddenly make you, oh, well, it's possible for me to be racist because I have 4 kids. But mate, first of all, you've got like 600 children, and secondly, I'm guessing from the way you conduct yourself that you kind of take what you get. Even being a trillionaire, I don't think you have a pick of the crop because you're such a weirdo and such an awkward person. You probably, I'd imagine you've given 50% of the people listening right now of the female disposition the ick. I'd imagine that you produce the ick at unimaginable rates, and you find it hard to find people who can stand to be in your presence for more than a couple of minutes before they're just like, oh my God, you make me crawl. That's the reality of it.
And also, if you look at the people that are employed at my companies, we have senior executives of all races. There's I don't think there's any racism there.
You've had multiple complaints at Tesla of how racist Elon Musk is, like multiple, and he's buried, he's done, this is with him doing his best to bury many of those complaints. We saw it live. For those of you, if you haven't seen Elon Musk's interview of Don Lemon, if you want to see racism in real time, where Don Lemon as a black man tries to correct him on certain things, and Elon Musk just you could see the indignation in his eyes, who the hell do you think you're speaking to, black man? Then go for it. You'll have entertainment watching that interview.
Anti-Muslim?
I don't think there's any racism there.
Are you anti-Muslim?
I'm against having if
okay, so we already know the answer to this question is yes, because it shouldn't take that long to answer the question, are you anti-Muslim? No. You could start with a no, and then you could start saying the stuff that you're against. He could even manage squeezing out a no, so he's clearly anti-Muslim. Let's bring it back. This is hilarious to watch.
I'm against having if people are coming to a country with antithetical views, I am against that.
That's just not answering the question. You don't know what views they have. She just simply said, are you anti-Muslim? You can't answer it.
I'm against that. I'm against I'm against rape and murder. I'm against
once again the audacity of a white Western European male trying to equate the act of rape to Islam. Now, as much as like I said, I'm not a massive fan, Islam is a very pious, and you know, it's a religion that relies heavily on its moral boundaries and its moral guidances, and it's actually quite proud of that. Yeah, it's not. Let's stop acting like RAP is rife in normal Islamic communities, because it's not. Where people practice Islam correctly, I'd imagine it's as popular as where people practice Christianity correctly, in that it's reprehensible in both communities. Okay. So the fact that he's trying to equate, she's asked, are you against Muslims? And he said, I'm against RAP. That's so insulting, because respectfully, yeah, the community that's committed more RAPE and murder in the 21st century, let's not even go 20th, the 21st century, should we run the numbers of the amount of RAPE and murder that was committed in Iraq? Should we run the numbers of the amounts of RAPE and murder that was committed in Afghanistan, in Libya, in Syria, in all of these places where the superior Western Europeans came and invaded these nations and had their way with these populations? And then he's going to turn around and be like, I'm against these two things. Being someone who's of apartheid, someone who's of apartheid lineage, has the nerve. Do you see the ability for these people to project the very thing that they embody and then place it upon a population or group that doesn't even have that? That is very, like, I know it's almost like I feel like a lot of these live streams is becoming a bit of a you know, it's becoming repetitious, you know, and I kind of get that, because I feel like I'm saying the same thing over and over again now. But that's the environment that we live in today. This environment of just extreme gaslighting. Someone actually came up with a really good, well, someone mentioned a really good term, which I'm going to admit I didn't know before. In yesterday's live stream, he said we live in a pathocracy, yeah, where essentially we're being ruled by psychopaths. And I was like, that's a perfect way of putting it. This is not an idiocracy. We live in a pathocracy where everything that's occurring, like the pathology behind what he's doing right now and what Western leaders are doing right now globally, you know, you could even hear like France's leaders and the way they speak about the Sahel region, like they've been upholding some kind of beautiful oasis in Francophone Africa when it's just been a hellhole wherever they've been. And now they talk about they need to restore Francophone Africa and save it from the Sahelian Alliance. We live in a pathocracy. It's crazy how these people conduct themselves.
Against the imposition of rules and laws that are contrary to what we've come to accept in the West. And I think it's a crying shame that the sort of traditional media like you don't recognize this.
Notice how he had to also resort to an attack there. She asked him a straightforward question, and the thing she did brilliantly is she said nothing. She just allowed him to talk, so you could see how contradictory and how much he just lacked any kind of depth in his ability to answer a very simple question: are you anti-Muslim? The answer is a resounding yes. He had to create all of these different non-related topics. I'm against RAP and murder. That wasn't the question. Are you anti-Muslim? And he didn't want to answer it, so he turned it instead into an attack on her. Well, it's the traditional media, your inability to recognize this.
Why should you be able to shape European politics? You don't even live there.
I think of it as
I like the way she said that. She slipped into her London bag there. She went, you don't even live there. I like the way she said that. I'll bring that back.
Sort of traditional media like you don't recognize this.
Why should you be able to shape European politics? You don't even live there.
I think of it as the sort of the West collectively.
But do you see why this makes people think that this man who has all this power, he's the world's richest man, he thinks he has a right to influence our politics? It makes people, it's why, we started this conversation saying superlatives. It's why people loathe you.
I like the way she said that, because it's clear that she loathes him and I loathe him. And I'm so glad she used that word. I'm so glad she used that word. She's like, it's why people not even hate, loathe you. It's why people loathe you. Like, that's what she would say. Who the fuck do you think you are? Like, who do you think you are? Like, why are you involving yourself? It's got nothing to do with you. Yeah, you don't get to speak about our country, you jackass.
I mean, some people do loathe you.
Yes, some people do.
But do you understand why? Do you think what you're doing is helpful for Western democracy?
Maybe some people do loathe me. And that's probably true. I don't care.
Maybe some people do love me. That's probably true. I don't care. Ooh, burn. This guy's so dumb.
But the fact that, as you pointed out, 250 million people follow me is that I think a lot more people actually like me than don't.
So his metric for the fact that people like him, more people like him than don't, is he's got 250 million followers. He's not going to equate the fact that he owns Twitter to that number. I'll be interested to know how many followers does he have on Instagram. It might be the same, it might be more, but I'd just be interested to know, is he able to do those kind of numbers on other platforms he doesn't own, or is it just the one that he owns where he can essentially buy his way to any amount of followers he likes? That's a pathetic answer.
And I think a lot more people hate you and the media more than you realize.
That's very true. People do hate the media, but I think people hate you more, Elon. That's the end of it. I think people hate you more. I think the only people, even people in the far right whose views you just literally haplessly retweet and uphold any kind of, I think even they hate you. I think that's the reality. I think even they hate you, but you're a useful tool for them. This is the kind of person he's beat himself into a position right now where he has literally no support. People do not like this man. He's entirely unlikable, and his whole image is based on whether or not he's got more followers than you, which is just like, okay, well, you can rig that in your favor, whatever. Let me give a shout out to Blood of the Unicorns. Shout out, my G. He says, my neighbors are white supremacists. Damn, that's hard. With swastika neck tattoos. Damn. Honestly, I prefer them to the one who smile in my face. Also, they would play black music and speak in a black accent. That's crazy. Where are they from? Where are you from? I need to know more now, because you've got me very intrigued. Where are you from? Where are your neighbors from? Are they Eastern European? I don't know. You've given them dollars, so I'm going to guess that you're American. And maybe your neighbors are just from, I don't know, from the South, somewhere in the States. That's crazy, though. That's crazy. That's crazy bold as well. Damn. Shout out to you, though. I appreciate the donation. It's much appreciated. $10. Yeah. So anyway, that's that video. There's actually a second video that we could go into about Elon Musk, but I'm trying to keep these at a reasonable-ish length, and an hour feels just about right. So because Blood of the Unicorns have given that donation, I'm gonna kick about for about another couple minutes. Okay, wait to see what he replies with in terms of where he's from, where his neighbors are from. But yeah, that's it for Elon Musk. I'm gonna do another video about his entire ICO or IPO. It's funny I said ICO. Do you guys know what an ICO is? So he did an IPO obviously for SpaceX, which is just con people out of all of this money. So people have been conned out of their money to invest in this crap. And back in the day, I'm not sure if many of you guys remember, about 5 years ago, there was this big trend in the cryptocurrency community where it's actually longer than that. It's probably about 8 years ago, where people would do ICOs, which is an initial coin offering, which was like the cryptocurrency equivalent. And they all had very similar curves to what we're seeing right now in the SpaceX stock, in that they'd launch, you'd have this massive peak of the price, and then they'd just crash. Yeah. And I'm just like, looking at Elon Musk's IPO is like looking like an ICO. Normally, IPOs don't go this way. IPOs are supposed to be good, solid investments, solid stock. You know, you might get a little peak, but then it will kind of like teeter, and then you get a value, might go up, might go down. You know, good proper like solid investments, Apple stock. You know, that does. Let me tell you right now, I do not think SpaceX stock is ever going to see $200 again. I am very, very comfortable that it's going to crash to $30 before it starts recovering. And you'll be lucky if it stabilizes at $50, because that company is not worth a lick. It's not worth anything. It's worthless. It's not producing iPhones. Here's a quick measure I'll throw out there for you. And this is just a general test that I do when I look at valuations, okay? When I look at valuations, a question I ask myself is, how much money has this actual company got out of either me or my household? How much money do I actually give this company? And if that company is taking money from me or my household, then I'm like, okay, I get it. It's worth that amount. So for example, if I was to take a company like Google, okay, Google owns YouTube. I got a YouTube premium account. I think a lot of people have those kinds of accounts. When I've had businesses, I've run YouTube ads. I have my Google Drives, which I pay the extra premium for because I just think it's worth it. And I can just see value in that. So I'm just like, okay, cool. That they get money out of me. Netflix, okay, $10, whatever, £10 a month. All right, I've canceled my Netflix, by the way. But when I was okay, cool, that makes money out of me. iPhone, bloody hell, my missus, yeah, iPhone probably gets and Samsung out of me. Samsung probably out every 2 to 3 years gets a couple grand out of me. Okay, gets a couple grand out of the missus. Yeah, iPhone, yeah, iPads. Look around, like these some of these companies, thousands of pounds. Amazon, okay, monthly. Probably Amazon's probably doing about £400 or £500 a month in my house, if I'm gonna be real. Yeah, monies. Yeah, how much money does Elon Musk get out of me? Zero. I don't have a Tesla. Okay, I will never buy a Tesla since he did that whole thing. Yeah, I'll never buy a Tesla, and I don't have any Musky products. Okay, I don't even use X, and if I did, it would be free. It gets no money out of me. And if I was to run a survey, other than Tesla owners, I don't think Elon Musk gets money out of any people. So where do you get a valuation like that? Like, where are you generating your income from? Where are you getting your money from? What that you got to value your company that high? Shout out Bloody Unicorns. He says he's from California. Okay, cool. Yeah, I heard you get those types in Cali. That's wild. So I'm guessing there he might be one. Is he one of them like biker types? Your neighbor? Because I know they've been a little bit wild with the whole race spaceism thing for a while, haven't they? Yeah, from the deep south. Okay, shout out to you. Okay, so you said they're Southern California. They're from the deep south. Okay, yeah, makes sense. Yes, SpaceX stock is crashing, and I think it's hilarious. I actually just watched I look at the stock price like every other morning or so, and I find it quite cathartic because I actually called this when it was way up at when it had just come down from $200. I'm like, what is it doing up there? I'm surprised it even managed to go up a little bit. I'm like, this stock is going, and I called it. I already called it $30. You guys can hear it now. That's what I'm calling. So I'm looking forward to that crashing all the way. Forcing people to use Starlink is all he can do. So yeah, shout out to you, Muzianda. Yeah, that's the only way it can make any income, but it's not like anywhere near the kind of income companies that are valued much less than his company make on from the general public on a daily basis. So what that puts him online with like ISPs. Ooh, I'm making ISP money. That's not 2.7 trillion, my guy. Yeah, it's not 2.7 trillion. Yeah, so I think we'll leave it there. 1 hour 10 minutes we just hit. Thank you guys for joining me. I know it was rather brief, and I can see the room just filling up. I got about 50 people joining now, but I'm keeping these live streams a bit shorter. I'm sorry if you just joined. Shout out to you. Thank you for joining. We're gonna call this one a close, and I'll see you on the next one. And shout out to Bloody Unicorns. Thank you very much for your $12 of donations. Much appreciated. Peace.